Hey guys, this is Ryan. I'm just coming to you guys again to update you after an extensive day of driving to test out the Sprint network in North Austin and try to help Sprint compile information to convey over to Ericsson in an attempt to fix the broken network. For those of you that don't know, Sprint is undergoing a process called network vision. In my opinion, they should have done this a long time ago because they started offering unlimited data services, and they brought smartphones to the market on the iOS and Android platform. They made a purchase of Nextel, which is a completely different technology, and it's an older iDEN 2G service. They did not succeed in their ability to sustain that business, and so come here June 29th and June 30th, they will be terminating that service altogether. They did spend $36 billion on the deal with Nextel, and in my professional opinion, it was just a waste of money. I mean, they could have upgraded the network a long time ago. But what do they really care about? Where are their core value, or what are their core values, and where are their priorities? At any rate, the update to my findings come from real world testing on the road. And I was doing so while talking to Sprint's networking team that deals with all of the CTMS tickets and works side by side with management and corporate and Ericsson. Contact there for the Oklahoma City call center is Steven. He is the one that I have been working with to resolve some of these issues here in Austin. Steven is a very highly intelligent individual with a psychology degree, and he is the go-to guru guy there, and he has acknowledged the problems, and I am working with them, being that my background in the military and in previous jobs is with wireless technology. I took it upon myself to do something because apparently Ericsson just didn't give a shit. For those of you who don't know, Ericsson doesn't have the workforce capable to sustain the contracts that they have with various companies to maintain and provide service, and so they utilize subcontractors to do the work for them. And this is where a lot of the problems come into play, because not everyone is up to spec, or in my case, or a professional opinion, qualified to be doing the modifications, and oftentimes they don't do the best work. I'm not saying that about every team that's assembled, but you have to realize that there are a lot of bonus opportunities for these companies that come in to do contract work for Ericsson. Say, for example, you put up 2 towers in a week, you get a bonus. If you can do 4 in a week, you get more of a bonus. And then when you get maybe you have enough teams to knock out 6 towers within a week, that's when you get bonuses that triple or quadruple from the original offering. So it looks like to me what they're doing is just getting the towers up, and then they go back later and try to tweak them. But as of right now, it's adversely affecting a lot of people because a lot of people's livelihood is contingent upon communication. I know that my livelihood has been adversely affected because I work for UPS's Business Solutions division as an independent courier, and as of recent, I've been stagnant because I'm having dropped calls, blocked calls, connectivity issues, you name it. Can't connect to GPS. So it's all problematic, and because of my extensive knowledge, I just decided to take it upon myself to try to work with Sprint, because realistically, the people that are rude to the customers when we call in for help, are hurting Sprint, especially when it's network related, because it's not Sprint that's liable. Yes, it does tarnish the Sprint brand to a certain extent because it's their service that's being compromised, but it's actually Ericsson that maintains the network for Sprint. So because Ericsson has a contractual obligation to provide a great service for Sprint in maintaining their wireless network and any problems that may arise, it's ultimately reflecting upon Ericsson and their capabilities. And they're obviously dropping the ball because there is an obvious lack of oversight. I have been in contact with Ericsson. I have a corporate email. If anybody would like to have that email so that they can send speed tests to them, just please let me know. Comment below. But back to the heart of the matter, apparently when I do go 0.8 miles from my addresser on East Palmer Lane, which is 1728, south on Dessau, I'll travel 0.8 miles to a tower that's over there close to the Howard Lane intersection that is upgraded for enhanced 3G services as well as 4G LTE, and I will pull a full signal when I'm right up to that tower's ass. But there are often times when I get to the tower and I have to cycle data in order for it to go from 2 to 3 bars to the full signal. And then whenever I drive away from the tower, I have pretty much a full connection on my Galaxy Nexus until I get to the cross street of Palmer. And right as soon as I cross Palmer, I scab onto a tower that's 2.3 miles away and that is located on Cameron. So that's kind of odd because there is also another network vision capable tower that's a lot closer. So there are issues. I worked and spent the better part of an hour today doing drive testing and giving real world figures to one of the guys that works with Steven over at the networking team in Oklahoma City. And so hopefully they understand, because I would tell them what type of signal I was receiving at certain cross streets, and that in no way coincides with what their map dictates, and their network is supposed to be a lot smarter and be able to concentrate and allocate signal to where it's needed most. Even though it's a 360-degree radius, there is what's called a line of sight. At any rate, if you guys are having problems, just do what I said, and just know that I'm working on it, and there are still some good people left out there with Sprint, so don't let those lower level employees get you frustrated. I'm going to post another video, the phone number to the networking team that deals with CTMS tickets in Oklahoma City, and what you need to do is tell them that Ryan Moore sent you, and that I advise that you talk to Steven, and if Steven's unavailable, because he's within the management team and also does some training there, you can convey the information to a regular employee and tell them that Steven advised that they pinpoint utilizing all numbers that you have on your account and for the location where you are, where you're seeing compromised service, and that will help, quote unquote, light up the area and eventually automatically generate an outage, so that Ericsson has to come down here and figure out what's going on. There is a confirmed 3G outage on a tower that is, between here and Pflugerville, probably about halfway, I'd say. And so a lot of the 3G is being rerouted to some of the towers in North Austin. And so we're seeing an influx of users on our towers and traffic and throughput, which is causing a lot of dropped calls. I'm sorry that Sprint does not convey this to us as customers, to be honest, they really don't tell us much of anything at all, which is probably going to be to their demise, because they need to reassure us that they're behind us 100%, and that they're doing this for a reason and not just to market themselves, so that they can get another company to buy out 70+% of their shares in order for them to have cash flow to potentially buy out the remaining shares of Clearwire, because they already are in ownership of a good majority of Clearwire as it is. They also own Boost Mobile and Virgin Mobile. Let's see. Virgin Mobile and Boost Mobile started offering WiMAX devices, and a lot of people, are probably wondering why that is. And if you're not, and you just think it's a great thing, hold the thought and listen to what I have to say here really quickly. First of all, Sprint does not have a lot of spectrum, and so they're trying to do one thing with the IDN network here as of the 29th and 30th, which is shut it down and reallocate the 800 megahertz spectrum allotment that they have to voice and LTE. For those of you that don't know, the lower the frequency, the more penetrable it is. So where you might only have 2 bars inside, you'll have possibly a full signal on the 800. Was that worth $36 billion? No, but they have assets, and they're utilizing the spectrum, but they have the ability to liquefy assets like towers and stuff like that, and sell them off to companies that own towers and that buy towers and that operate towers. So they can recoup some of their money, but they're never going to get the $36 billion investment back. For every just a tidbit of information really quickly, for every 2 Nextel customers that they're losing, they only gain 1 Sprint customer, and they've been taking loss after loss after loss. Sprint's having to upgrade all of their server equipment, their panels from the old legacy panels to ones that can support the 800 megahertz as well. It's been a long time coming. They should have done this a long time ago, but not to digress, but back to what I was saying originally. Just to sum it up, Sprint, it's a love-hate relationship. And if you ask a lot of people about Sprint and how they feel about Sprint, they can't stand them. But a lot of people flock to Sprint because Sprint typically has the lowest deposit requirement out of all the major carriers. You go to AT&T with somewhat of a bad credit score, and you're liable to pay, $500, $600, $700, $800 worth of a deposit. And the same is true for Verizon. T-Mobile, they're another low-cost carrier, but they actually have better service than Sprint. Not much I can say for the rural markets because they don't really have any. And if you're expecting to have awesome data while roaming on the AT&T network, forget about it. But what I can say for T-Mobile is that in their major markets, they have 50% more bandwidth than AT&T, which is the only other company that's in direct competition with T-Mobile, because they're utilizing similar technology, which is called HSPA and HSPA Plus, of which T-Mobile has. Their networks work off of what's called file compression, which is similar to that of WinZip on a Windows-based PC. T-Mobile had 1700 megahertz frequency, and then when they deployed their 42.2 megabits per second service, which is the plus of the HSPA, they just flipped the switch, and all the towers that were already converted over to being digital from analog, meaning they have fiber and so on and so forth, from the coax, they were able to utilize like a 2100 megahertz frequency that essentially doubled they're offering. Now, are you ever going to see 42.2? No, you're not, because of congestion issues. But optimally, and without any traffic whatsoever, peak speeds would creep up to that that large of a number. But HSPA or HSDPA stands for High Speed Data Packet Access, and that is their 3G service. And the way that their HSDPA Plus works is that it gets a like LTE speed. It is only an enhanced 3G service, and the crazy thing is that it's a variant of CDMA technology, which is what Sprint uses, and it's called WCDMA. So why Sprint did not adopt that type of service for their 3G or adopt Qualcomm's EVDO Rev B, I don't know, because that's multiple downstreams of 1.5 apiece, which would have enhanced the 3G service a long time ago. And then Sprint would be ahead of Verizon, because Verizon never actually did that either. But Verizon invests a lot of money into their network, and they've got 95% of their existing 3G network covered with LTE, even those towers that they acquired from Alltel. And thankfully enough, Verizon honored the previous roaming agreement that Alltel had with Sprint for rural connectivity, and that will last and sustain until approximately 2016, and I'm sure they'll try to work something out, but the ultimate goal is to enhance coverage on your own platform in an attempt to reduce incurred costs for roaming charges. So, of which Sprint shoulders the load for. And but back to Verizon. Verizon is actually deploying a secondary network as we speak that utilizes advanced LTE and HD voice. It's going to be several years before Sprint gets on the bus with HD voice, but they do plan on shutting down the 2G IDA network as of June 30th, and they're going to start deploying 800 immediately following that, especially in the Austin, Texas area. I know that this video is pretty lengthy, but I just want to make sure that everything's covered. Let's see. T-Mobile has also deployed LTE in the Austin area, and because they're not having to convert as many of their towers the way that Sprint has converted their towers, they're able to integrate software and a few other things, I guess, to make LTE go live, but it's not as extensive of a modification like Sprint's, because Sprint was still utilizing the old Nortel Networks monstrosities of and what I mean by that is that they had these huge cabinets, at the tower base that were just so dilapidated it wasn't even funny, and as well as their panels, because they were only able to utilize 1900 megahertz. At any rate, you'll see LTE on AT&T and Verizon utilizes the 700 megahertz frequency range, or 750, which is optimal because it allows for great signal penetration. Sprint's going to have signal issues indoors until they fully complete the 800 modification, and then that should be cleared up. I mean, Sprint has a good plan, but is it more for marketing themselves to SoftBank Japan and the buyout, or is it because they really care? I mean, you tell me. I mean, I think the answer is obvious. We'll leave it at that. But SoftBank Japan, from what I'm to understand, is in the research that I've done, markets themselves similar to the way that T-Mobile USA does here in the States. What I mean by that is that they're very vibrant and fresh and hip. Sprint to me is like the Republicans are. where they're out of date, out of touch with what the Americans want, and where we're going, and what we believe in, and the fact that we do operate off of a global economy, and the Democrats were able to reach a certain demographic that the Republicans were not, and that's why they're still in office. And I really don't give a shit, because I didn't vote for either one of the sorry pieces of shit, because neither one of them, to me, had clear enough of a directive and plan to make me vote for them. So, sorry, Romney, you failed just like your father. Man, I love making sense. I just pride myself on being as intact, morally, and with as much integrity as I possibly can utilize. Because, as we all know, we encounter people that are compromised in that regard on a daily basis, more than we care to count, right? So, anyway, I'm just trying to do what I can on the ground, because I do have extensive knowledge of how wireless networks operate, because of my military background and various companies that I've worked for in the past. So we'll see what happens, but you guys need to dial *2 from your mobile phone and get in contact with Sprint's customer service, specifically Tech Care. From the prompt, you dial 1, wait for the then you dial 4, wait a couple seconds, dial 4 again, and then you wait a couple seconds, dial 1 to confirm device, and then you dial 22, and you wait for someone to pick up. They generally pick up within 10 seconds. You will be at Tech Care, and what you want to do is tell them that you would like to pinpoint your area and all of the phone numbers that you have on your account, and you let them know that you're experiencing an influx of dropped calls, poor data connectivity, so on and so forth, and there is already an active trouble ticket, or CTMS ticket is the technical term, but and it's an open ticket for a 3G outage on the way to Pflugerville, and then there's an open CTMS ticket that's been escalated to management in Oklahoma City that I am working with Steven on. So just reference those things, mention the words Cascade IDs, which they pull from towers. They have extensive tools that they can use to see how the towers are performing, and do not let them generalize it or blame it on network vision, because it is a lot more serious of an issue in the way that the phones are communicating with the network. And so I encourage everybody that has Sprint in this area of Austin and any other area to call in and have them pinpoint the problem, because the more people that pinpoint, and the more numbers that come up, the more it's lit up on their screen whenever they look at the map, and they're able to see, and it will automatically eventually generate an outage for this area. So and like I said, I went through the better part of the day doing what they call drive testing while I was on the phone with the networking team in Oklahoma City, and we were able to come to a lot of conclusions based upon real world testing. The network is obviously not finished, but it's what is complete is not operating the way that it's supposed to. And the only way that it's going to get better is if we stand up and unite and work together to better the situation. So hopefully you guys are a lot more informed. I know I bounced around a little bit. It's been a long day, but hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what's going on. And there is a great website to educate you on everything Sprint, 4G LTE deployment, network vision. It is S4GRU.com. S is in Sam, the number 4, G is in golf, R is in Romeo, U is in uniform.com. It is nothing more than it's a web forum, and it has multiple discussion threads. You can sign up and you can start your own discussion thread. My handle on there is Smoke Signals, and I started one for the Arkansas region, and I'm about to put some more information on there about Austin, but there is a plethora of information on there to educate you, you guys, if you guys don't know much about it. And they have compiled, their own maps, coverage maps, based upon, permits, public information, and tower database information that they can acquire. You might not see a tower on the Sprint the Sprint website, but because they're pulling permits from all the cities where Sprint has towers, they're able to see where Sprint's building a new tower or just doing a tower upgrade, and so they post that and they say whether it's a 6-month permit, a 12-month permit, when it was acquired. And so say if one was acquired in January of this year, that they should be done with the build here pretty quick. So it all helps. And I love you guys. My name is Ryan. I live here in Austin off of Palmer Lane. I just doing what I can, man. I'm out of work and I'm trying to get this network situation under control so that I can go back to work and utilize my phone the way that I need to be able to. I guess that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, and I'll respond as quickly as I possibly can. But do what you guys need to do, and if you don't want to call customer service, just stop into a Sprint store and tell them to help you submit trouble tickets or pinpoint where your problem is, and all of that stuff will go to tech care and help in our attempts to get Ericsson out here and do what's right. Peace.